Quitting is not that easy. Emotions take over and we often get confused on the best decision. Let's talk about it. Roll it. Welcome back to another video where we've been exploring this whole idea about quitting and how there's a right way to do it and a hard way. And usually we take the hard way. In this video, we're going to talk more about this whole idea behind our emotional side of things, how to really look at this face value before we make a decision. A lot of the times emotions take over and we make the decision of quitting in a way that we would later regret. And regret plays a big factor, especially when we've made emotional decisions. Usually logic, we return back to that idea and then we know why we did what we did at the moment and it was the wisest decision, so we're okay with it. But when an emotional decision happens and then 6 months go by, a year go by, 5 years go by, well, the narrative changes because our emotional state changes. And because our emotions change, well, it's all timely and we create this narrative of what really happened instead of what actually happened. And this is where regret takes over. And I'm sure everybody's been in a situation like this where, you decided to call it quits with somebody and you're in this nice relationship, all of a sudden it goes bad and you decide, hey, this isn't for me. Or maybe you didn't go negative and you just felt like maybe this person isn't the right person for me. And on an emotional level, we make this decision and then regret pops in later down the road because we, A, haven't found anybody, B, we didn't find what we were looking for, C, well, maybe that was the best we were gonna get, and although that's maybe not true, that's how we start thinking. When we look at this from the idea of business and careers, well, a lot of the times we make emotional decisions and a lot of it has to do with some risk. It has to do with the idea behind we can do better, we can become better, and then all of a sudden we go to a new place of employment and we realize this place sucks even more than the last place. Emotions again take over, and it's the emotions that got us there and then the emotions that are really driving how we feel about ourselves in making these decisions. Before making decisions, my number one go-to is to analyze how am I feeling emotionally. Am I on the extremes of any emotion? Am I super pumped up for something? Am I super angry for something? Am I what? Where are the emotions hanging out? Step two, it's understanding that these emotions are all normal and we have to let them subside, let them cool down to a level where they are not in control. I think we've all been in that place where we made decisions with emotions out of place and in the driver's seat. And really, we have to work on bringing those down to a normal level. This can achieve by starting to plan. Planning is critical in anything we do, and the reality is that if you start planning out things, you start writing things down, this amazing opportunity starts up for yourself where you start seeing the bigger picture. And once you start seeing the bigger picture, well, your emotions come back to a more normal level. And as you keep working on that logic side with the planning, well, everything starts to shape up nicely. Step three is actually taking all these plans and really focusing on, all right, here are my plans. This is how, I want to see things happen. Am I concrete on the decision I'm about to make? Is this really what I want to do? We can put this on a scale between emotions and logic and really understand, hey, I'm making more of an emotional decision rather than a logical one. We always have to look at it from the perspective of that gut instinct. Is this what we need to do right now? Gut instinct usually means there's some risk involved, and how much is there for risk? And how much do you have a variable of tolerance for it? The idea of just getting up, quitting, and going is something that not many people can do. There's a risk factor involved, and if you start planning things out, well, this risk level comes down, especially when you're in that planning phase of your next move and you're analyzing the pros and cons and what you want to do, and you look at the risks, they pop up, and you then have a better realistic understanding of how the risk forms, how it is affecting you long term, and whether you should be entertaining it or not. being able to really see the perspective on paper and really plan out steps changes the mindset a lot on what you're about to do. Lastly, it's understanding, hey, am I going to regret this? Am I going to find regret in this process that I'm about to enact? Is this what I really want? And where will regret come from if I don't get exactly what I think I'm going to get? And this is really expectations. It's understanding your expectations. Your regrets come from high expectations and limited results. It's really a factor of really sitting down and saying, what is the percentage of my expectation due to reality will occur, and what will I actually start seeing? How much of a gamble am I taking? I have changed jobs many times, over and over, and the reality is that sometimes I got what I wanted. I was in this awesome environment, and sometimes I was in a horrible one. The same goes with the whole idea with projects. I've started projects that I thought would take off, they didn't, and then I worked with people with amazing projects with a lot of cash flow, and that blew up in my face. And then I had other projects where I wasn't expecting that much, and I really focused on the reality and the timelines and the planning behind it, and it turned out to be amazing to see the project pull through, and something that I didn't expect it to pull through at that high level, but it kept getting momentum, and it went to a place where it was above my expectations. So the idea is very simple. Regrets will come if your expectations are too high, if they're unrealistic. Regrets will show up one way or the other, and the question is, how much has the narrative changed, and where are we at on that narrative? Being able to look back and say, yes, I made the decision on logic, reduces that level of stress with regret. It takes it away. It makes you be more realistic with life and what actually ends up occurring versus what you expected. And the regrets are then limited to momentary, like isolated incidents, you would say, of thought processes, rather than a continuation of massive, epic, biblical proportions regrets that you sit there going, why did I do that? Our idea is to get away from that. Our idea is to step away from that. Lastly, accountability comes into play, and this is the reality of everything we talk about when it comes to integrity, and when it comes to our purpose and mission in life, when it comes to our values. And it's very simple. Accountability picks up where we need it to, and it teaches us to move forward, learning from the mistakes we've made. So whether you're about to make a really critical decision that, turns out very good or very bad, we're able to look at these decisions now and say to ourselves, where were the mistakes made? Did I not plan enough? Were emotions still too high? Or were the expectations too high? What was actually happening with that decision? When we're quitting anything, this is critical to understand. And I see this a lot with relationships more than anything. Yes, business projects too, and yes, leaving jobs, but relationships, because they happen more, I guess, and it's something that people tend to fabricate a new narrative more often than not. And this is the reality. We often decide we need to leave somebody because they're not good for us, and we make the decision, or it's made for us by the other person. You knew it was coming. And then we are playing the narrative because we want what we can't have. And we play it in a way where we're thinking back at all the good times, forgetting about all the bad times. And there was no actual walkthrough of what was occurring. It wasn't written down. It's not something you can revisit in your notes. And this takes a toll, especially when that regret cycle picks up and you're going through those emotions. So the reality of this whole step-by-step approach is that we need to really focus on making good, solid decisions. And we can only do those with our emotions in control. Integrity and focusing on our values is critical, and we can't really follow suit to that if we're stuck flying by the emotions instead of the lie. My name is Nico Rentas. This is mentorshipapproach.com. Hit that like button if you like what you see. Of course, hit the subscribe button to get your daily motivational idea to get you moving in the right direction. And of course, leave your comment below. Leave your story. What have you done that's similar to this? How has it changed over time? What are the pros, cons? And of course, what would you do differently? Because who knows, somebody might be reading your story that relates to it, and you might help change a life.